get the vibe that you're distant. There's something about you that's different. I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. It is a lie when you tell me that nothing is wrong, just leave it be. But I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. I will make it right. I will make it right. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Tell me again. Tell me again.
Happy Tuesday. We are running a little bit right on time. We're right on time. Look at
Good.
us. We're perfect. It's hi
Yeah.
Rodney.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Did you get that run of show I sent you?
I did.
Good. And I know that we're going to have people checking in, and our numbers are up. I'm really proud to announce that our viewers post show are up double digits, big time. So things are starting to pick up, and we appreciate everybody doing that. My name is
Yeah.
Andy Elliott. I'm a realtor here in Williamson County, Tennessee. This is Rodney. He's with First Trust. I'm not got my monitor, so I'm pointing to him on my screen. He's there. He's there. Um, there, right there, with First Trust. He's also in Williamson County, Tennessee. The purpose of our live stream is to share news with you. And if you have questions, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, any way you want. And we'd be glad to talk to you and help you out with any questions that you might have. So, Rodney, did you golf this weekend?
I did. I got a little golfing in. Me and my son played a couple rounds out in Legends and had a good day. Sunday, we got a little bit of rain delay. And then my son wanted to go play with his friends. And I was like, well, I was hoping you'd already worked that out with mom. So, he got put in the doghouse a little bit on Mother's Day for being a bozo.
All right.
But
Something to
yeah,
remember mom by. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, come on. It was Mother's Day Sunday, and
Yep.
young man chose to went and play 18 more holes with his.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So the we've got a couple of interesting things to chat about today, I think,
Hmm.
don't you?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be a little bit all over the map today. We've got anybody that watches us, we try to catch sort of the trending topics and what's going on. And in what's going on this week, I'll give you a little preview so you'll know what you're hanging around for. Is there's a few things that has happened. FHFA, the guys that sort of run the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac party, right? Isn't that what they do,
Hmm.
kind of? They changed their mind on some really controversial things. We're going to get into that more deeply in a minute. But in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, but that's a big institution to be changing their mind or changing policy, really, is what it is. Is it, and we'll ask Rodney to flesh this out. Does it make a big difference to the buyers? Well, the message I was getting from Rodney was not all that much, but it's a big deal that they're changing it, and they're looks like they're changing it on public opinion is what it looks like. And then the next article I wanted to touch base with was NAR, National Association of Realtors. They're reporting a housing rebound this year, not wrong, in 2024. This year, 2023, we're going to just move along kind of steady Eddie, and we're going to show you some numbers on that in the Nashville thing. What we try to do is we've got the market across the country, and we try to apply what's happening across the country and reflect what's going on here in Nashville, because that's what Rodney and I know. And then the third thing is, and this has turned out to be a prediction we talked about a month and a half ago, was when those banks started to fail, that the Feds was going to respond. And in fact, mortgage rates were going to go down. That's a prediction, and we're going to talk about that. But that looks to be maybe we were accurate on that. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But that's what we're looking for on today's show. And then as a kicker, somewhere along the line, we've got a guy that's predicting Nashville would crash by 34%. That would be significant. So we maybe I have a different opinion on that. Maybe I can back that up, and Rodney's here to help me with. So, where do we
I'm
always
on his
start with?
side. I'm on his side, Andy. We're gonna see about this. We're gonna see what kind of data you got. If he if see what kind of data you can produce on this guy here
Okay,
that
all right.
that he
So
predicts this crash.
I'm sweating. I'm pitting out a little bit here. So we're going to start with Rodney's rates, the numbers.
All right. Yes, sir.
Right. One of these days,
Very nice.
I'd like to
Very
get I'd like to get through the first verse of that one of these days. All right, here we go.
All right,
Bang.
let's look at what we got here. We're on this chart here. You can see today's U.S. mortgage-backed security up here. The top, we're down 16 basis points from the start this morning. Not the best spot we could be in, and just because, let me see if I can get a different thing here. Yeah, let's look at this one. On this one, you see the 16 basis points here, but what I'm concerned about is the 10-year Treasury is up 5 bips. But what that does, it's moved through a big floor, like a floor of support or a ceiling, okay?
Okay.
So that means the potential of our drop is greater today because we are past some floors of support you see up here.
Yeah.
So you see this gold thing again. I put my thing on there. It's alert to lot issued at 11:44 a.m. Basically, my market service is saying, hey, we think rates are getting worse. Protect. It happened 2 days ago right up there. So as you can see, so we get, at these arrows, we get them, our clients protected in on those right there. So
right. And it really did change it based on that alert.
Right.
A couple of days ago.
Yes. And, this is how far, when you see the bottom of the candlestick, I call it, it could be an upside down candlestick as this one is.
Yeah.
Like, this is how bad it got that day. Okay. Or today. And this is where, like where it's at. So you can see kind of with a candlestick how they move up and down with that. But, if we still go over, a 6-month period and look at it, look at that. Just a bunch of nonsense.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little messy in there.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that's 6 months time frame right there, what that is. So
right.
Overall, our rates to get better, but man, I just sure hate this last part right here, these last few weeks, because I was really hoping we were done, but it's never like a ladder, Andy. And the thing about it is you just keep keep plugging away, and hopefully it'll get, we'll finally start seeing some positive movements on that.
Well, but that period of time that you're showing us there, and for anybody that's new to that chart, if it goes down on the chart Rodney was just showing, that means mortgage rates are going to go up, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, sorry, for anybody that's seeing that down as a positive deal, it's not. But that messy part that you were just showing back there, isn't that where the banks were failing and the feds were messing around and all the conjecture about the Fed funds rate and all that? I mean, isn't all that uncertainty was all bottled up and mixed up in there too, right?
Absolutely. All this, yeah. I don't know the exact date of it, but yeah, it's been, when it was, I guess that was in February, right? That information happened.
Well, we've had the bank failure, a little more recently than that, I do believe.
What is this, mid-May?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it March or April?
I'm thinking that it was April, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, it could have. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I can't.
I think the fact is, the first one fell back in February or March, but then the second one fell. That would have been Signature Bank, right? In April, I think.
Here's April right here, start of April, where that line, where my cursor is right here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's, from April, right in here, that's kind of what the market's done since then.
Right. And that's what I think that's what, since the market is driven by the human being, by human emotion, when the market shows that turmoil as history, there's more than likely turmoil going on in the real world, I'm almost sure of it.
Yeah, all this is good. The banks are fine. You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about that debts. I'm worried about, the Republican Democrat with this debt ceiling. If Now I know when you say default, I don't think America's going to default on the debt, but I think they could be late in some of their payments. And if that happens, I think our rates will be in 8% very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I
That
think it'd be well over 7. I mean, that's kind of what everybody's predicting. Between 7 and 8 if we go into default, which I think default's a strong word because I don't really see America defaulting, but they would run out of money if they don't replace it, right? If they don't increase their debt ceiling or whatever they're doing, they will run out of money. That's what they're talking about, is if they don't replace their money. So
yeah. And I have to say that is a tough argument that these guys are having, because I, for one, think that it should be considered what needs to be cut. I mean, maybe that tells my position on things a little bit, but we just can't go unrestrained forever, and I just think it's a conversation worth having, to trim back on some of these things, and do you know what I mean?
yeah, I was at lunch. We was at lunch in our kitchen yesterday talking about just the expense. Like, I think somebody said that we had sent Ukraine, however you feel about Ukraine, we had sent them, was it like 35 billion or 25 billion, and there's only what 360 million people in our country. So it's like, would every I don't know if I was correct on that, but would every person get $200,000? Every 18, every citizen get $200,000 from that money that went to Ukraine? Or, and when you think of it like that, I'm like, Ukraine was ranked the number one most
Corrupt.
uh, corrupt country in the world. Why would anybody now, if that 34 billion, it saved a bunch of lives. So I'm not. That's maybe a bad example, but there's other frivolous craziness going on in our government that you know.
Yeah. I think the bigger picture is what scares people. And that's the old, if they break through that wall, then what's next? That's a hell of a question going on over there. It really is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That really is. But, you know, I don't know. I got to pull up short because I'm going to start spouting opinions. And
Yeah,
that's surely not what this is about.
yeah,
But
yeah. I don't mean
anyways,
to. I don't mean to distract you with my lunch conversations.
no, I think it's absolutely worthwhile. I think to stop Putin in his efforts, I just think is just critical. I mean, it's critical, and it looks, based on what we're hearing these days, he's having some failures recently. And even in the last couple of days, there's been some failures, which that's good news. Because I'll tell you what, whoever you are as a country, and I'm not, I mean, whoever you are, I'm trying to find a darker screen here. If you get in trouble, I hope you have the courage to fight like those guys do, regardless of where they those people
Even
are fighting.
wasn't that something?
They are fighting for their country, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean that was unbelievable. That's unbelievable how they've stood up and done that. Think about, if you compare that to all that time, or Afghanistan. They just laid down their arms, and
They just laid down, run for the hills.
I mean, like 20 years of women's rights just went out the door, in a hurry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They weren't willing to fight, and that these guys,
Yeah,
they're showing some guts. So if anything gives me pause to not pound on them too much, it's that, because corruption notwithstanding, I bet there's not a lot. I mean, I suspect there's not a lot of that going on now. Or
no,
maybe
yeah,
there is. I don't. There's a leopard changes spots. I don't know.
well, I can tell you it saved lives. I mean, that's the big thing. It may be a bad example for money, but if you just say another country X, and you divide that up, it's like
That's a
some
lot of money.
point in time, I just feel like you have to take care of America first, but
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
political show. We can move on.
yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about, one of the biggest row, the biggest upheaval here in the past few months. And gosh, you know what? I don't have my LLPA chart. I wonder how hard that would be to find. The biggest thing, cover for me a second here, Ronnie.
Yeah, FHFA, they come back and announce that they actually used the word rescind. Um, they should just say postpone or delayed, because they've actually just moved that date to August 1. But they are not implementing the like a 40 basis points hit for a debt to income ratio greater than 40% on a loan. So what the big upheaval was, or why mortgage bankers and everybody else was really throwing such a fit about, is because when we're under, it's supposed to be, um, you know, all these changes was supposed to be better for the consumer. Like the
Right.
consumer supposed to get their fees up front; they're not supposed to change. But when we're quoting somebody, we always don't have their exact income, right?
Right.
Somebody might say, "Well, I make 100,000," but really they make 92, and they get a bonus, doesn't qualify or whatever for income. So what the challenging part was is how are you going to be able to quote that to a customer in fairly, meaning, because
So
income's not done. We try to do it right up front to make sure they're qualified, but the underwriter don't do it for maybe a week or two later.
right. And so just so everybody remember, this was one of the charts that they were saying the people with good credit are now subsidizing the people with bad credit. And you went to great lengths to say that's not happening. And even if you could characterize it, the dollar amount was so small, it was like $10 difference, or it was minimal, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it. The red part was the bad part, and the green part, everything got better. But you got to understand that that still the higher credit score is paying less than somebody with a lower credit score. I mean, that's the whole thing. All it did was help, in my opinion, help increase someone to be on that in the past that that had a moderate to low credit score. They didn't have a chance to get a conventional loan because the LLPA was so high. Let's say if a 740 got 6%, somebody with a 620, they may got 8%. So
Right.
they just try to give conventional an option. They didn't change underwriting guides. They just made the rate a little bit more moderate for lower credit scores.
And so now that they've rescinded this puts us right back to what you're saying. Is that
They
correct?
Yeah, they only rescinded one piece. And that one piece isn't even on that chart. They
No.
only rescinded one piece of this, the one piece of the whole kit and caboodle, and that was if your debt to income went over 40% um, of any loan. Because see, you're seeing loan to value on there, and you're
Right.
seeing FICO score. So they had another one that's not on that chart that just basically said if you're over 40%, you get charged. I think it was 3/8 or 40 basis points, something like that, 0.375 or. So you see, like none of this is changing. This
Got it.
is still the new one, and that piece that it wasn't shown on this chart as far as as far as that chart goes.
Damn.
So it's just that one piece that they removed, but it was a good piece because we couldn't document it, Andy. It was you would end up giving this to a customer well after we disclosed to them, and that's why that's why everybody's pausing on it, is because they figured out like, hey, we're not going to know until well after the loan has been disclosed, and that's the whole thing. After we disclosed, you can't change a fee on a customer.
Absolutely. What does this now this is a behind the scenes conversation, and I mean you just give me one of these if it need to be. Does this put the lender across the board, the lenders across the board, when things are being changed like this, does that put you in a tough spot?
Well,
As a business person,
yeah. Well, it like this one would have this 40/40, because if the only way you could do it really is charge everybody up front the fee, and then say, okay, once they got down out of underwriting, then you're going to say, oh well, we don't need that in there. And how many people are actually going to lower that for the customer? That seems unlikely to me.
Yeah,
So
right.
as far as unfair, everybody would have had to do it, but I don't know how everybody would have gotten around to disclosing something to their customer. What, in all earnest, would have been the best job that somebody could have done, and then we find out like, okay, they included housing pay or something, or they included a car allowance as far as their total package or something. Or even if it's just they had a debt come up that they forgot about or whatever, and they don't even think about ratios. But whatever it is, if let's say the HOA, Andy, is these people are tight, and HOA, we didn't know about an HOA pops up and boom, they're over this. Now there's say it's a $400,000 loan, that's a $1,600 charge.
Right.
So mortgages don't you just don't make thousands and thousands off of every mortgage. So that would be you'd lose money on that. You know what I'm saying? That your profit.
I've been hearing that lenders have been, maybe this is too far into the lending business, but they've been losing money here for a period of time. Is that true?
Like mortgage companies or banks that have mortgage departments.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. The what I read was that there's some I don't want to say characterize it too much, but there's been some circumstances where money was being lost on loans.
Well, right now, you see right now what I see in that circumstances, I see some federal credit unions doing some government subsidized loans like VAs, and they're basically doing them. I don't even know how they're paying the loan officer to do them unless they got these people like on salary, because they're taking all the front end profit off the loan, and then they're just trying to get these loans for servicing rights. And I think they're doing that to hedge their balance sheet in case they've got some bad stuff coming up. They can add these. It looks like they can add these 30-year mortgages, VAs, and it makes them look better or something. So I know a lot of people are doing that for a loss leader, but overall mortgage companies have been taking a bath for a while now. So yeah, that's why half of them's closing down and banks are
Yeah.
shrinking. Yeah, I mean
Hmm.
that's been going on.
Well, that's sorry to bring that up. Is that a tear in your eye that I see there? Is it?
We're okay. And yeah, it's like I tell them, I'm like, man, we've had 15 straight good years. I mean, are you never supposed to have a slowdown? I mean, it's the
No.
craziest thing. I talk to LOs all the time, like, oh, I can't believe it's slow, slow. I'm like, man, we,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember a time when it wasn't just excellent, in
Yeah.
our area. So,
Yeah. And we live, I tell you, you've said this before, and we live in a great place. And I tell
unbelievable.
anybody that's not from Williamson County is in the top 20 at least wealthiest counties. It used to be number 11, but that moves around. But Williamson County is one of the wealthiest counties in the nation and the only one in the South. So, I mean, we've got a strong draw. People love living here, and we are lucky enough that not everything that happens in the news that's negative happens to us. Boy, we're going to be going through that in a minute.
Yeah.
And we're just lucky that way. So if you're thinking about moving to the Nashville area, historically, we've just done really, really well, period.
Yes.
We're
I mean, yeah.
there's some
Great, great.
places that
Yeah.
are.
Great place to raise a family. Great, a lot of other draws. Even airports, all that stuff.
If
Football
there's a
team.
downside, for at least what I've identified, if you're trying to watch your weight, that's tough, man. That hot chicken has got me by the ears.
Man, yeah, it's you're right. Everything in this, everything below the Mason-Dixon line is fried. So
Oh, and it's
it's gotta,
great.
you've got to stay away from fried food if you want to,
Well, you're supposed to, but
yeah.
yeah, I love the food here, man. I do. So there are a couple of interesting parts about we call it FIFA, the FHFA. A couple of interesting things that I've noticed that they're going to institute based on this, and it is FIFA will provide additional transparency on setting guarantee fees, and get this, seek public input on the issue. I wonder how that's going to go. How will people respond to things being more expensive? What do you think?
Well, I think what they're saying is, I think what they do is when they put out something, they put it out in a forum to get feedback, and it's mostly from lenders. It's not like from public. I guess public could be responding, but the people who are responding are going to be your lenders, and banks and things like that. That will, I don't know, that it affects more than just one person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the feedback is like, yes, they're all going to say pretty much the same thing. Is like, we cannot, how do you expect us to charge this charge? Because it's going to come later in the process. Before we know what that is, before we vet out all that stuff, we've already locked that loan.
Right.
So to add that in, but you've got a rule that you can't redisclose a fee that you knew could have been there after you've already disclosed, right? So
Right.
so now every single customer would have to get that fee. The way I look at it, and then it comes off. But that's the problem. I don't see a lot of people removing it. They're just going to add it in their pricing, and then everybody's going to get it.
Yeah.
You can't. That was the whole reason, is that you can't manage this fee properly, and that was why they've heard so much lash out about it. That's why they've postponed it, and hopefully in August it'll go away and not just reappear.
Yeah. And it seems to me what we've learned from you this past couple of months is that and we'll get off this topic, but I think it's important that this isn't that big of a deal yet. The way the news started to I'm going to use the word sensationalize it. It started to gain traction. Remember when we talked about that back in December? I said, you watch what's going to happen to this. And it got big. I mean, it just was everywhere. And then it turned into subsidies, which it's clearly not, you know. It seems to me that if FIFA, whoever, learns anything, it's messaging. You know, if you're going to make a change like that, include a message that clears it up for people, because that's how it turned into a story, is nobody knew what it actually meant.
Well, yeah, and I think that's part of our country's issue. You know, you got all these people that they will not, they'll climb a tree and say something negative, then stand on the ground and say something positive. So, you know, everybody, you know, and honestly, Andy, I had people inside my company saying, hey, you know, one of them sent me a letter saying, or a list, like, hey, you know, jump on this and get this whole thing rescinded. It's terrible. And I'm like, man, if you know, I just felt like, well, from where that person operates at, I said, if he looked at his average credit score, he'd be benefited by the changes, because it's a lower income and a lower credit score area. And I'm like, this benefits him so much, but everybody just jumps on the bandwagon of how bad it is. And it's not, you know, it's helped a lot. It'll help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's really not hurting anybody. You know, the way, you know, I understand that, you know, you say it's unfair it kind of is unfair to say, well, somebody with 20% down and 800 score, yeah, they paid a quarter discount point more than they would have a year ago, but you know, prices change all the time. I mean, so what's the, you know?
Yeah. And the calculation that they left out, I believe in the original argument, was the PMI expense was what the original, if somebody's paying less than, you know, 20% down, that they forgot to calculate the PMI added in there, and then it all of a sudden balloons up to what you would expect. Yes, they're paying more. There's a penalty for having bad credit, is the point.
Yeah.
So we'll get off of that. Anyway, so what? So in August is when it was delayed to, and we'll see if they actually kill it. So,
and hopefully it will. I think they're doing the right thing here. It's too tough to manage for customers.
And it's clearly the message is messy. I mean, I'm telling you, if nothing else, you know, you need a PhD like Rodney has in numbers and spreadsheets and stuff.
Yeah, you just need to read it and not listen to anything on the news. that's what
Go golfing instead.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing we've got here is and this is pretty interesting. I'm going to screen share this real quickly, see if we can't. All right, there it is, Bing. This is from National Association of Realtors. Top real estate economist, going to be Nadia Evangelou, explains why housing rebound is coming as rising sales and lack of supply looks poised to lift home prices. And we've been talking about that for quite a period of time. And the good news is, and we've always made this argument, I've actually got, I wonder if I still have that. There was 26 different purveyors of information, from CoreLogic to MarketWatch to National Association of Realtors, across the board. And there's optimistic and pessimistic. National Association of Realtors is famously optimistic because they're in the business, we are in the business of selling houses. So they're going to probably look on the bright side. But it turns out that they're more right than the guys being negative. I wonder if I've got this. Here's what, okay. So people have been talking about how many times, if you go onto YouTube, not so many blogs, but if you go onto YouTube and put in housing market, what's the most popular term? Housing crash, right? It's everything. Rodney was just talking about that. While some experts warned of an impending housing crash, and the National Association of Realtors doesn't see that way. It says home prices and sales are dipped this year, but she anticipates a rebound, catch this, in 2024 with sales rising and limited supplies sparking price gains. And that's what Rodney and I have been talking about, is that what we're going to do the rest of this year is going to drag along the bottom, and it's staying consistent with that. I'm going to show you a slide here. I don't think this is too early. Rodney, you tell me if it is. This is called The Worst is Behind Us. And this is numbers showing us what's happening in home values seasonally adjusted. Now, of course, the difference is month over month, it changes pretty radically, but in year over year, it can seem crazy, but seasonally adjusted, it just projects out what if it kept doing this all year long, and this is what it looks like. Case Shiller, for anybody that knows them, that only measures resale of homes that have been sold before. It doesn't include townhomes. It doesn't include new homes. It's only existing homes that have sold before. And so they're seeing prices go up 0.2. FIFA, we were just talking about them to death, and they see prices going up 0.5 point. And CoreLogic, big dog in the data analysis game, they only see it going up 1.6. And so the argument there is, and this is good news as far as I'm concerned, things are settling down.
Well, to me, I agree. Those numbers are so small; they're minuscule. I mean, they're on a 100 scale, right? So when people talk about crash, and they're thinking 20, 30, 40, 50%. This is 0.3, 0.2% in Case Shiller. To me, I like that one because it is basically the data I want to see, right? So, I mean, 0.2. I mean, we still have 99.8 to deal with.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
A crash. I think if we had seen a crash, it would be 5, 6, 7 month over month of big percentage numbers going that way.
Yep. And it seems to be, and if you look at what she's talking about here, is that what we've seen this over the last couple of months, we've been able to document this. If mortgage rates go down just a little bit, the home buyer jumps back into the market and they get active again. Because what she's talking about is there really is low inventory. That's a big deal. Let me see. I got another graph here. No, I'm going to stay out of that one for now. But she's saying that home sales, but then there's going to be a rebound in 2024. And that, I suspect, is going to be what I expect to happen. And you tell me what you think on this. The feds, based on what they've been talking about, do you think they're going to raise rates again this next month?
I thought they were done, but I'm not sure now. I'm really not.
I'm thinking they really are done. And I'm thinking that when that happens, mortgage rates are going to start to moderate. They're going to start to go down. And when that happens, those home buyers are going to come back. The pent-up demand has just got to be outrageous.
It has to be. I agree wholeheartedly. In our area, I think our pent-up demand is good, right? I mean, it's robust.
Yeah, but let me show you a couple of things about our area. And this is where we're trying to kind of relate what's going on nationally, but what's happening here in Nashville. And understand, now Nashville is different than Williamson County, too. There's a difference. Is it significant in some, well, in home values, it sure is, but there's some differences. But this is about the Nashville area. And so here's the year-over-year closings. April in 2023, In 2019, there was 3,400 closings in April. There's 2,753. Hey, Philip. Oh, yeah. Hey. Look at that. But there's fewer closings now in April of 2023. The sales by category. Residential closings in April of 2023, 2,162, where a couple of years ago it was 2,800. Then it was 3,000, and it's dropped. I'm going to call that 30%. Maybe that's a bit much, but that's quite a bit of a drop. Then we've got month over month comparison, a 10% decrease in those closings. What we're talking about is more houses are staying on the market. That's what's happening. And here's the snapshot of the March market. This is interesting. 3,800, 2019, 3,100, 2023. And look at the home values from 2019, 306, 2022 went up. Look at that. In just 1 year, from 306 to 480. And this year it's down to 468. That's
3 years. That's 19 to 22. They left off 20 and 21 for some reason.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They skipped 19 to.
Yeah, thank you for picking up on
Well,
that.
but that was one of the biggest jumps that we've ever had, right? I mean, that time period. So.
Yep. But they're starting to drop down, is my point.
Right.
Down to 68. Increased supply. So inventory, April is 11. Here's the point, and I think probably the point to all these. In April 2019, there was 11,000. In April 22, it was 4,300. Now we're back up to 87. We almost, not quite, but close to doubled the inventory on that. And that means that buyers are going to have more options. And that's really what that whole article was about, is buyers having options. But what's got to be learned by the sellers is we're not in Kansas anymore. And it's that hot market hangover. And I think I can say this. We had a property go under contract recently. Original price was close to 680. Recently, they dropped the price. We got it under contract, and the appraisal came in just a few $1,000s over the purchase price. So I'm glad that they saw the light and lowered their price. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah.
$65,000 we've been kind of preaching about a little bit. So Philip says here, I've heard they will continue to possible, I'm not quite sure what that means. Possible 12. Is inflation. Yeah. So he's thinking that they're going to continue with the increase.
Oh, yes, with the bank increase,
with the Fed funds rate. Yeah. I know. I see.
I mean, and now I don't think they've ever given us enough time to let anything work. It's like, they raise it 1 month. I'm like, there should be a standard of like, let's see what that does, but it's not. They come back the very next week and do it again.
Well, think about how much pressure he's in. I just can't get over this FIFA change. And maybe that happens more frequently. And I'm sensitive to it because I've never seen it before. But it almost seems like, and I'm going to say public pressure, but I mean the businessmen below them. You said the bankers and all that kind of stuff got them to change. Can you imagine the 12%? Can you imagine what Powell must be, and his board of 12, those guys, what they're thinking? I bet they're getting beat up every day on how to act, on what to raise, what not to raise. I mean, I bet they're getting it from all sides. Jeez Louise.
No, I think this is a good work in progress. Honestly, I think it's a good. They put it out, and then they have a forum about it, a place to where lenders can interact, and a lot of lobbyists too. When this happened, we were, in our mortgage and realtor circles, you may have heard, people raising money for the lobbyists, right? Because the lobbyists have to go up there and deal with this. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Mortgage Bankers Association lobbyists, I'm sure the realtor lobbyists were involved as well, and they have a strong voice. And then when they, it's, I don't think our whatever cries wolf, our industry cries wolf every 5 minutes. So I think when they raise concerns, that they listen. And
Yeah.
this was one where we raised concerns and said, you put out 100 of these, and this one out of 100 is, well, it's not going to be in line with what you want and how we need to treat our customers. So,
Right. And it goes to show, and you know what? They've got, the CPIs doing what they're expecting. It's, and the CPE's doing what it's expecting. The producer price index is doing what it's expecting. The jobs market is the only one that's not behaving, right? I mean, we keep coming in with more jobs hotter than what they're looking for.
yeah.
But, and that leads us to the next thought, that the collapse, and I'm going to just call it that, of SVB, and then what was the second one? Was it Signature Bank? Yes.
That one out of California, the
Yeah.
new investment people. Yeah, I forget what they were out of California.
And there's another bank now, bank on the verge, that's getting ready to fall apart. What First Republic, right? So the feds are watching that, and I want to say in a Southern way, bless their heart, because I mean, I wouldn't want that job. Maybe I would. I don't know. That's got to be a tough job. And you're going to say something, I could feel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, the government and all these changes, that they're just making it difficult on banks to make money. It's, it's a pretty simple process. If you jack what you're going to lend out to the bank so high that they've got to turn around and make some money on that, I mean, what are they expecting? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, so it's way, in my opinion, way too much banking regulations right now. I mean, I think if you took the poll of the people in charge, would rather see banks be a nonprofit, which is just, which is ridiculous. And I don't work for a bank, right? So, I mean, but I've been with the bank for 20 plus years and seen how you've seen all the audits, the payments that go to them. I mean, I always said it was like it is worse than the mafia. Like the mafia, I would have a chance. Like I can negotiate with Tony. You know what I'm saying? Tony comes down like, Tony, I'm a little light today. Don't break my leg. I might get some sympathy from Tony. But, the U.S. government is, they're going to do their fines. They're going to do their charges and pay me now,
Yeah. Well, and that leads us to here's what the interpretation of these bank failures means. And here's what they're suggesting. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the ensuing turmoil in the financial sector could spark more activity in the housing market, according to the same NAR, Individual National Association of Realtors, Ms. Angelou, the senior economist. And here's what she said. We had expected the mortgage rates to come down to the lower range of 6% sometime in the second half of 2023. Can you imagine what's going to happen when that does occur? If everything else stays equal, if rates come down to 6, people are going to be jumping through windows to get to the loan officer. I mean, they're going to be, it's going to be busy for you.
I would think I think it would definitely see a lot more activity at 6%.
Yep.
I don't know if it would be busting through the doors, but definitely I think if rates hit 6% for the general population, we'd be on our way.
And you just got to stay away a little bit from getting too close to the below 6, because then all of a sudden, it's that shelving thing. If it's 620, everybody thinks it's good. If it's 605, everybody's going to be waiting for 599.
That's always the case.
I'm telling you. So we'd expected mortgage rates to come down lower range of 6% second half 23, but now because of these banks, on a number of them that seems on the block, chopping block. She seems to think that level may be coming in weeks rather than months. And that's pretty optimistic. That's all I'm getting at.
I will say that it is. I agree with that, but it's not. It's not like it's a lone wolf opinion. There is a very good. There's a very good person that I like to listen to that he had predicted in May that our rates are going to start dropping and continue. So it's that theory's out there.
Yeah.
I'm a little reluctant to jump on that bandwagon because it just really looks to me like next year will be a good year, a better year for rates. But I think they'll slowly get there.
Yeah. And I agree. And I didn't mean to put National Association of Realtors out there as the one opinion that things are looking better. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that are coming around to that. And I think that it can't be avoided when you've got the feds, and everything hinges on how they hint things to be, when they're suggesting that staying put may be a good idea. I can't remember. I'd have to read that exactly, but we're getting the sense that the interest rate is slowing down. It could be flat. Don't see any cuts coming yet, but just for no raise at all would be a positive, big time.
Yes. I'd love to see any kind of signal that they think what they've done is working for that inflation.
Right. So, and that's where we'll kind of start to wind it down for today. That's been really fun. But I want to add.
Hey, I'm with you on NAR though. I would much rather look at the NAR data than a lot of other people, and they tend to be positive, right? They tend to shed things in a positive light. But why? I'm not a doom and gloom guy, anyways.
Well, and I think that the reason that they're that way is they're not trying to make headlines. Whereas the guys that are saying, that market's going to fall apart, they're just trying to win clicks. The National Association of Realtors and people like them, they're really just trying to get the information out there. And I bet if we look back historically, they were right more often than not.
Yeah.
They tend not to sensationalize things, and I don't mean gloss over anything, but I like to listen to that positive news. That being the case, Rodney and I have a special guest. Let's see how this goes. Come on.
The number 10 housing market that's going to crash in 2023 is Nashville, Tennessee. This was a housing market that lots of people flooded into during the pandemic. They pushed the prices way up. Well, that's not happening anymore, folks. And the result, a massive surge in inventory. A year ago, there was 1,600 homes for sale in Nashville. Now there's 6,500, 300% growth year over year. A statistic that shows that the sellers in Nashville are about to get very desperate in 2023. And I think we could see home prices decline by as much as 34%. The typical home value in Nashville today is $421,000, and according to my algorithm that predicts home prices in America, the fair value price is $276,000.
So what do we think about that? 34%.
I mean, I never want to discount if a guy has an algorithm. I mean, if a guy has an algorithm, I think that adds some credibility to his presentation versus if you just didn't have an algorithm at all. Even though I think, obviously, I would, if I knew if I even thought that would be the case, I would probably be trying to liquidate every cent I had to buy up some properties if they dropped 34%.
And for anybody watching us, I'm sure that you've seen Reventure Consulting is what he calls himself. But I'm going to give you here's an overview of what he looks like. Crash, collapse, lending crisis warning. So I'm thinking his tone could be a little negative.
Maybe.
and the reason I was bringing up those numbers, Rodney was talking about what are we going to do about that? Sales price, median prices, they're looking good, looking pretty stable. Whoops. And that's what's going on across the board in Middle Tennessee right now. Let's look at this. Sales price, $515. It's down just 3%. That's, I'd say, different than 34%. That's what I would say. I'm going to say the average days on market, that's up. Not even showing you guys. That's up 232%. So the 37 days on market, remember a year ago, things were selling in 3 and 4 days. But
37 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, 37.
He said we went from like 300 to 1,600. What was the data on that?
Hang on.
You never know. He could have pulled up just Davidson County, or who knows what he got.
Yeah, I don't know. But what we have is there. Inventory is from 4,300 to 8,700. And that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
But
how much for 8,700? How many months of supply is that for that area?
So there you go. And that's a really good question. It's right here. It's 3.32 months supply. And this is up to date. That's this month. That's April 2023. This is real time stuff.
So we really need about 16,000.
Well, yeah, I don't think quite that much, but the month's supply here it's creeping up to a balanced market, because this would still be termed a seller's market, but because there's so few buyers, it's almost balanced. You're going to find, when we can negotiate 65 or a lot of money on properties, the sellers are no longer in control. The difference here is, and it's the same thing as Rodney repeats every week, and he should. You show me a house that's in great condition for the right price, you'll get multiple offers. That's been the case. I don't care what the market's like. If it's a bad market, a good market, you show me a good house at a good price, and I'll show you more than one person wants it. It's as simple as that. And we're just still getting past that. We want $1 million for the house, even though it's not quite worth $1 million. We only bring up the guy. I bring him up in it as a kind of a joke, because I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, I don't think Nashville's not going to crash by 34%. I think we're safe. There's Angie.
I differ from his opinion as well. Even though he's got a strong algorithm, within his system.
Oh yeah. You gotta have that algorithm. So
I mean, the U.S. housing fair market algorithm.
I'm trying to find. Let's see. Yeah.
Not that any kind of negotiation between a seller and a buyer has anything to do with that. But
no, not at all. Angie, you didn't get a notification? Well, that silly YouTube. What? Who was that guy? I don't know his name, but it's Reventure Consulting. So if you want to get the bad news on a plate, that's where you go.
Yeah, he'll.
And we can say whatever we want about him, because there's no rules about that guy.
Yeah, I have no rules anyways. I mean,
that's true. I do have a mute button though.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Yes. See, look, Angie in California. Look, her. It looks like her area just went up as well. So that's nice.
Is that right? I bet you that'd be. I wonder if we got a minute to check that out. I bet we do. Do we? Do we have a minute?
I got plenty of time.
You sure? Okay, hang on. We're gonna look. We're gonna go look at California, U.S. housing market.
While you're looking it up, I was looking at Wendy's comment as well. She's exactly right. Those that first one out of California, Silicon Valley or whatever it was, they had said that 500 times in an article that their management of that portfolio was disastrous.
Where? What was that?
Um, Wendy said strong portfolio management at banks is crucial, not so much management in those that failed. And she's exactly right. That one, I remember reading article after article about that one in California where they talked about a lot of the management issues they had there.
Huh. I wonder. So is she saying real estate was up this month from April? Yeah, sure enough. And I'm going San Bernardino. I don't have a clue as to where she really is, but and you don't reveal that. But yeah, you can see things are going up a little bit.
Don't reveal it because Andy's liable to show up out there.
What are we having for lunch? Anyway, that was golly, that was good stuff. Well, Angie, I'm sorry that you didn't get a notification. I don't know what happened there.
Angie, how far are you from like Santa Cruz area? Well, she might answer later. We catch her when.
There we go. What's your general locale? About 3.5 hours from what you said, Rodney.
Yeah, me and my son was thinking about going down near Santa Cruz. There's a putter shop. Just to go down there and do something nice for him and get fitted for a golf putter, and it's blah blah blah. So that's near the area of Santa Cruz. So I was seeing if Angie was close to that,
have a lunch. Going to California for putters. I need to get in the real estate business.
Yeah, we're not planning anytime soon, but it's just one of the things we would like to do.
Oh God! Well, do you have any thoughts there, Rodney, as we drift off into?
Yeah. Just to recap on that, I think it was a good effort by the government agency to back off of that fee when they knew it was going to pose some challenges for our customers. I thought that system worked very well. Of course, we're always going to see people that sensationalize negative news and crashes and warnings and all that stuff. But, we've been just tracking along, it's like you look at those percentages, it's like, well, it goes up or down, but when it goes up or down 0.2%, it's, that's virtually no change, it's got to move, it's got to do something. It's not going to always stay dead the same, but.
Yeah. And I'll take Steady Eddie all day long over what we've had, we've come a long way from, price increases of 20%, in a year. That's craziness. That's crazy town.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not sustainable. It's not, and this is what happens after you go through years of not sustainable rates, not sustainable home prices. This is what comes after that. It's like I tell people all the time, like, what were you expecting? I'm like, we had 15 years at an unbelievable run. It's like, what were you expecting? It something had to end, So.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we come out of this, I think that the good news, I think the best news of all is that it's not at all. There's no signals at all that the market's doing what that guy's talking about. And I'm really, heck with that guy. I think that he's just flat wrong. I just think that he's flat wrong, and he's making a statement to get clicks. I just think, and that's,
Right.
if somebody doesn't like that, let me know. That's fine. But we're doing in the midst of a great confusing time with COVID and all of the rest of it. We're coming out of this reasonably well, and I'm saying we're doing all right.
Yeah,
That's what
I mean, we are. It's not always, your car always don't go, 150, on a racetrack. Sometimes
Yeah.
you back it out of the driveway.
The answer to your question, okay, I want to count. Angie, yes, I think, and we were just going over that, that the National Association of Realtors, the senior economist there, thinks that the bottom will be hit this year. And I mean, we could be very well in the midst of that, even currently, if not really close to it, we could be currently scraping along the bottom. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think we are. I think we're at the bottom. I think we've been at the bottom. But
Yeah.
and the only reason I say that is because every time the rates hit 7%, it bounces off that ceiling, and every investor tries to get 7% 30-year fixed rates as investments, so it immediately pushes it back down. So I'm like, we have to be. I don't know how else it could,
Yeah, we're doing
unless you got some of this debt ceiling or all this or a war or something. You never know what that could do, but just normal stuff. I'm
Yeah,
with you.
I think we're doing good. Well, that's it for me, Rodney. I can't thank you enough, man. Your microphone sounds great. Picture looks good. Everything is going well. Philip, thank you. Say hi to Wendy for us. Angie, sorry I didn't get there early on. I'll look into. I don't know why the notification didn't go out, but we'll just try it again next week. So next Tuesday, Rodney, we'll see you next week. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all
Everybody
for
else?
watching.
All right. You got to find the right button here.